Hi, and welcome to a video where we are looking specifically at the sortTable function, which sits in the ivotools library. sortTable sorts a list of lists, which you can also think of as a two-dimensional array, a table, or a collection of records into some type of order. And you can choose an index field to sort the entire data by, and you can also sort in ascending or descending order. Okay, so where does this come from, guys, and why is this useful? Well, let's have a look at an unsorted table, guys, which you can see on the left hand side here. Okay, let me just bring up my drawing tool. All right, so this is just an abstract view, guys, of what a two-dimensional array or a list of lists might look like if you drew a picture of it. So this is students and their scores. And you'll notice there, guys, that not only do we have duplicate scores, but we also have duplicate student names. So let's imagine that I've just missed the field of this table off, which has got a date in it, for example. So that might help to justify why we would have duplicate students with duplicate scores. Now, if we wanted to get to this situation, which is sorted by virtue of student score, guys, to write the code from scratch to do that is not trivial at all, because whilst we're busy sorting the scores, we need some way in our algorithm of making sure that whatever happens to the scores, the student names still match with the correct scores. It's not so bad if we had unique scores and unique students, but when we have duplicate values, it makes it quite challenging. So writing the code to do this, okay, is challenging. Mainly because we have duplicates, and we also, of course, might want the liberty of being able to sort on either the string, which is the student name, or the score, which could, of course, be a string or an integer. So it all gets very, very complicated. So what the sortTable does, guys, okay, is it provides you with a function which will do all of that for you. All right, so with that in mind, guys, let's have a look on Python and let's see how that works. Okay, guys, so we're in PyCharm, and what you can see on the screen is a typical example of a list of lists. And it is a list of lists because each of the students and their respective scores is inside its own individual list. And of course, those constitute a collection, which is inside a parent list, and we've referred to the whole lot as scores. Now you can picture this as a table, so we can have a table of student details, or you could picture it as a two-dimensional array. It could also be, if you like, an extract from maybe a database table or a spreadsheet where we are working with a section of student records. So it could actually be seen as a collection of student records. However you want to picture it, guys, is fine. But what we need to be able to do is to sort this into some type of order. We may wish to sort it by alphabetical order of student names. We might want to sort it by virtue of their scores, but either way, guys, the code to do that is very complicated, because we need to make sure that however it is sorted, the student and the score stays related to each other. In other words, we don't lose track of one or the other. And of course, what makes matters worse is the fact that we have duplicate students and we have duplicate values as well, or do we? No, we don't actually. Let's do that. Let's just put in a duplicate value, guys, actually, to make it a little bit more demanding, to make sure that we have consistency with the data. Okay, so we've got duplicates in both columns essentially. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to sort these. Let's say first of all we're going to sort by student score. Okay, and we're going to do that in descending order from the highest score to the lowest. So the first thing that I need to do is to give myself an array to store the sorted version of scores. So let's do sorted table. Okay, and then we need, okay, guys, to use the sortTable function, which I have imported from ivotools. Okay, so we want to say sorted tables. Okay, and sorted table, and then we want the first parameter to be the data that we want to sort, okay, which is all very logical. So that will be scores. Then we need to specify the index that we want to sort on. So if I just bring up my drawing tool, guys, okay, in terms of indexes, all of the student names sit in index 0, okay, within the array, and all of our scores sit at position index 1. Okay, remember, of course, guys, as you know, that with sequential lists, the index always starts at 0. All right, so we want to be able to sort student scores which sit in index 1. Okay, so all we need to do, guys, is we just need to specify a 1 here. Okay, and in fact I could run this and it would just sort it in ascending order, but as you know, guys, I suggested earlier that we might want to sort this in descending order from the highest scores to the lowest. Okay, so all I need to do, guys, is I just need to put reverse equals true in there to reverse the ordering. All right, now we need to print it out. So to make it a little bit easier for you to make a comparison, I'm going to do a simple Python iteration. So I will say for students in, and then we want our sorted table, and then we're just going to print students. Okay, you can use whatever variable name you like, guys, doesn't really matter. So we're going to print students. All right, so let's run that. Okay, and there, guys, you can now make a direct comparison. So you can see, if you look at the ordering, you can see that we have the scores in descending order, but it's also managed to keep track of Peter and Sophie having both scored 72. All right, now conversely, guys, we might want to order in terms of the alphabetical ordering of student name, in which case I just change that for index 0 and run that. Okay, and then we will get the results, guys, in student alphabetical order from highest to lowest. Okay, now just to show you guys that it will work, if I take the reverse equals true off the end, then it will reverse the ordering. So we'll have Fred at the top of the list, okay, and then we will have Sophie at the bottom with her 2 scores, guys. Okay, likewise I can do the same thing with the scores. I can do it from lowest to highest. Okay, so then we have Jane going all the way up to Sophie at the bottom of the list with the highest score. And again, guys, you can see that Peter and Sophie, their joint score has been kept track of. So before we wrap up, guys, you may be wondering whether it's necessary to have your scores defined as integer data types, which you can see they are in this example. So let's see what happens. Let's see if sortTable still works, if it's basing its search on numeric values, if they're defined as strings. Okay, so let's change these to strings. Okay, now the answer, of course, is yes, which is good news, guys, because it means that for numeric sorts, you don't have to write extra lines of code to do casting to make sure that you have integer values for numbers. Okay, so if I run this now, we've got index set to 1, so that's cool. Okay, so let's run it now and see if we get our numbers in order. Okay, and you can see that we do, guys. Okay, we have, don't forget, I've taken out the reverse equals true, so we have the lowest score at the top and the highest score at the bottom. Okay, so let's just change that back to reverse equals true. Okay, just to prove the point, guys. Okay, so reverse equals true. And then we have Sophie back at the top with 92 and followed by Jackie with 88. So the good news, guys, actually is that Python does a pretty good job. Well, at least the library and function that sits behind the scenes, guys, does a pretty good job of working with strings and with integers. Now, just as a related aside, it has been the case in the past that sometimes when I have used the machinery that sits behind the surface, guys, because it's not my code, it's a code that sits in a Python library function which I've just made easier for you to find. But it has been the case, guys, that when I've tried to sort in the past on string versions of numbers, it hasn't always worked properly. So if you're ever using this and you're not getting back the results that you expect, try changing the string versions of numbers into actual integer values and see if that works. Okay, I don't know if there's a little bug under certain circumstances in the engine that sits behind this, guys. Okay, but it's just a thought you might want to try. Okay, guys, so that brings me to the end of this demo. I hope you find the demo and the video and the sortTable function useful, and I will see you in a future video.